Right now, as you are watching this, the jet stream over the United States is doing something we have not seen in weeks. It is buckling. It is twisting. And within the next 72 hours, that twist is going to split this country in half. One side gets summer in March, the other side gets slapped back into winter. And if you live anywhere east of the Mississippi River, what is coming for Easter weekend could genuinely shock you. We are talking about a temperature swing of 40 to 50 degrees in some cities within just a few days. 40 to 50 degrees. That is not a typo. That is not an exaggeration. That is what the models are locking in right now, and I am going to walk you through every single detail, city by city, state by state, so you know exactly what is heading your way. But here is the thing. Before we get to the Easter shock, there is a critical piece of this puzzle that most people are completely missing. There is a reason the West has been locked in extreme heat. There is a reason the East keeps getting teased with warmth and then hammered with cold. And that reason is about to intensify in a way that could reshape the next 2 weeks of weather across this entire country. I am going to reveal exactly what that mechanism is at the 5-minute mark. So whatever you do, do not click away before then, because once you understand this one pattern, every forecast you hear for the rest of the month is going to make perfect sense. Now, before we dive into the maps, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what city and state you are watching from, because here is my promise to you. In this video, I am covering forecasts for over 270 cities across America. Over 270. I want to make sure your city is one of them. So drop that comment and let us get started. All right, let us begin with what is happening right now today, Tuesday, March 24th, because what is on the ground today sets the stage for everything that follows. And honestly, the contrast across this country right now is absolutely wild. Let us start in the desert Southwest, because this is where the story begins. Phoenix, Arizona right now, 97 degrees. Let me say that again, 97 degrees. On March 24th, that is not a July temperature, that is not even an April temperature, that is late March. And Phoenix is flirting with triple digits. Scottsdale, 95. Mesa, 95. Chandler, 95. Tempe, 97. Surprise, Arizona, 97. Goodyear, 99 degrees. Buckeye, 99 degrees. You heard that right. 99 degrees in Buckeye. We are 1 degree away from the century mark, and we are not even in April yet. Tucson is sitting at 95. Sierra Vista, 86. Flagstaff, which normally would be cool this time of year, is at 70 degrees. Sedona, 81. Prescott, 80. And here is the one that really jumps off the page. Bullhead City, Arizona, 99 degrees. Mojave Valley, also 99. We are seeing temperatures that are 20 to 30 degrees above normal across the entire state of Arizona. Now slide over to California. This is where it gets even more intense in terms of how widespread this heat is. Palm Springs, 94 degrees. Indio, 94. Joshua Tree, 95. Coachella, 94. Borrego Springs, 94. El Centro, 96. Calexico, 96. Death Valley, and this is Furnace Creek, 99 degrees already. But it is not just the desert. Move up into the Central Valley. Fresno, 87 degrees right now. Bakersfield, 86. Modesto, 86. Stockton, 85. Sacramento, 81. Redlands, 88. Riverside, 84. San Bernardino, 84. Hesperia, 90. Victorville, 90. Ridgecrest, 92. Even the coastal cities are running warm. Los Angeles, 69. Not extreme, but above normal. Burbank, 81. Glendale, 81. Pasadena, 81. Santa Clarita, 83. Calabasas, 83. Simi Valley, 83. And the inland valleys are absolutely cooking. Pomona, 81. Rancho Cucamonga, 83. Fontana, 83. Ontario, 83. Up in Northern California, the story is the same. Chico, 81. Oroville, 81. Angels Camp, 86. Placerville, 73. Auburn, 75. Roseville, 84. The San Francisco Bay Area is running in the low to mid-70s. San Francisco itself, 72. Oakland, 73. San Jose, 77. Fremont, 73. Palo Alto, 75. Sunnyvale, 73. Mountain View, 73. Cupertino, 73. Santa Clara, 77. San Leandro, 73. Hayward, 75. Concord, 81. Walnut Creek, 81. Antioch, 81. Livermore, 81. Pleasanton, 81. San Ramon, 81. Daly City, 72. Moving up the coast and into wine country, Napa, 73. Sonoma, 73. Santa Rosa, 78. Petaluma 73, Novato 73, San Rafael 73, Ukiah 78, Lakeport 78, Santa Cruz 76, Watsonville 76, Monterey 73, Salinas 77, Hollister 86, San Luis Obispo 81, Atascadero 81, Paso Robles 88. Paso Robles at 88 degrees. That is wine country running temperatures more typical of August than March. Santa Maria 78, Lompoc 75, Santa Barbara 62 with fog, one of the cooler spots on the coast thanks to marine layer influence. Santa Ynez 93, Solvang 93. Just a few miles inland from Santa Barbara and the temperature jumps 30 degrees. That is the power of the marine layer. Further south along the coast, San Diego 68, Carlsbad 68, Oceanside 68, Escondido 74, El Cajon 75, Chula Vista 68. Imperial Beach, 67. Temecula, 69. Murrieta is similar to Temecula. Newport Beach, 70. Huntington Beach, 70. San Clemente, 69. Dana Point area near San Juan Capistrano at 70. Laguna Niguel, 70. Irvine, 70. Costa Mesa, 70. Anaheim, 74. Fullerton, 74. Garden Grove, 74. Long Beach, 70. Torrance, 66. Santa Monica, 66. Culver City, 66. Venice, 66. Notice a pattern here. The closer you are to the Pacific Ocean, the more moderate the temperatures. The coastal areas are in the upper 60s to low 70s. But go just 10 to 15 miles inland and you jump into the 80s. Go 30 miles inland and you are in the 90s. The ocean is the only thing keeping the coast from experiencing the same extreme heat that the interior valleys are seeing. And that marine layer along the central coast near Santa Barbara is the last line of defense against the heat dome that is sitting over the desert. Now here is where I need you to pay attention, because this is the twist. While the entire West is baking, look at what is happening in the Northeast and the Great Lakes right now. This is the split. This is the divide, and it is dramatic. Buffalo, New York, 32 degrees with light snow falling. Rochester, 33 degrees, also snowing. Syracuse, 33. Albany, 31 with light snow. Binghamton, 28 degrees. Plattsburgh, 31. That is a 67-degree difference between Buckeye, Arizona, and Binghamton, New York. 67 degrees. Same country, same day, same hour. Cleveland, Ohio, 31 degrees with snow. Akron, 32. Youngstown, 29 with snow and ice fog. Pittsburgh, 33. Erie, 30 degrees. Detroit, 35. Ann Arbor, 33. Flint, 33. Marquette, Michigan, 30 degrees. Alpena, 27. Port Huron, 27. Traverse City, 31. Move into Wisconsin. Milwaukee, 32 degrees. Green Bay, 37. Sheboygan, 33. Manitowoc, 32. Wausau, 35. And Minnesota. Minneapolis, 45. Rochester, Minnesota, 43. International Falls, 32. Bemidji, 38. The entire Northeast is locked in a pattern that feels more like January than late March. Boston, 34 degrees. Providence, 36. Hartford, 39. New Haven, 39. New York City, 37. Brooklyn, 37. Queens, 38. Jersey City, 38. Newark, 38. Philadelphia, 41. Trenton, 36. Wilmington, Delaware, 40. Baltimore, 45. Washington, D.C., 48. Now stop for a second and think about this. Phoenix is at 97. New York City is at 37. That is a 60-degree temperature gap between two major American cities on the same day. That does not happen often. And here is the part that should make you sit up in your chair. This gap is about to get even wider before it gets better. Drop a comment below and tell me which side of this divide you are on. Are you sweating in the West or shivering in the East? I want to hear from you. Now let us talk about the Pacific Northwest, because there is a storm system moving in right now that deserves your full attention, especially if you live in Washington or Oregon. This is happening today through Thursday, March 26th, and it is bringing significant rain and mountain snow. Here is the timing. The system is moving onshore Tuesday, that is today, and will intensify through Wednesday into Thursday. In the lower elevations around the Pacific Northwest, we are looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain. Around Forks, Washington, closer to Olympia, about an inch of liquid moisture in the lowlands, but 2 to 4 inches in the foothills and mountain approaches. Now here is the number that matters for the mountains. In the higher elevations of the Cascades west of Seattle, we are talking about 20 to 30 inches of snow. Let me repeat that. 20 to 30 inches of mountain snow by Thursday. Some models are showing even more than that in the highest terrain southeast of Olympia, just west of Seattle in the higher elevations, 12 to 18 inches, a foot to a foot and a half of snow. If you have mountain travel planned in Washington state between now and Thursday, you need to seriously reconsider. The passes are going to get hammered. This is heavy, wet Pacific moisture being wrung out by the terrain, and it is going to stack up fast. Portland, Oregon is sitting at 53 degrees right now with overcast skies. Salem, 57. Eugene, 60. Bend, 64. Corvallis, 60. The rain will be less intense in Oregon compared to Washington, but you are still looking at decent rainfall in the lower elevations and additional mountain snow in the Cascades. Seattle is at 50 degrees. Tacoma, 48. Olympia, 49. Bellingham, 47. These temperatures are going to stay cool as the moisture continues to pour in. Now, here is the question I know a lot of you in the Northwest are asking: how long does this last? The answer is, this particular system wraps up by late Thursday. And this is the part you cannot miss, there are likely multiple rounds of storms coming through the Pacific Northwest during the first week of April. The jet stream pattern is setting up to funnel storm after storm into the West Coast. We are going to cover that in detail in our next update, so make sure you are watching for that. All right, we are about to hit the 5-minute mark, and I promised you something important. I told you there is one mechanism, one atmospheric feature that explains everything we are seeing: the extreme heat in the west, the stubborn cold in the east, the storms in the Pacific Northwest, the Easter chill that is coming. All of it traces back to one thing, and here it is. It is the jet stream ridge over the western United States. Picture this. The jet stream, that river of fast-moving air high up in the atmosphere, is supposed to flow relatively smoothly from west to east. But right now, it is not doing that. Instead, it is building a massive ridge, a big northward bulge right over the western states. That ridge is like a wall of warm air. It pushes high pressure down to the surface, which traps heat underneath it. That is why Phoenix is hitting 97. That is why California is 20 degrees above normal. That is why the entire West has essentially skipped spring and gone straight to summer. But here is the other side of that coin. When the jet stream bulges north in one place, it has to dip south somewhere else. And that southward dip, that trough, is plunging right down over the eastern half of the country. That trough is what keeps pulling cold Canadian air down into the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic. It is the reason Buffalo is getting snow while Phoenix is nearly hitting 100. And here is the critical update that is going to affect tens of millions of people. That ridge in the west is not going away. In fact, it is about to get stronger, which means the trough in the east is about to deepen. And when that happens, we are going to see a fresh surge of cold air push into the eastern 2/3 of the country right in time for Easter weekend. Now that you understand the mechanism, let me walk you through exactly how this plays out day by day. Because the timing on this is everything. Wednesday, March 25th, the warmth that has been building across the country continues to push east. This is the short-lived warm-up for the middle part of the country. If you are in the Central Plains, the Ohio Valley, or the Southeast, enjoy Wednesday and Thursday because these could be your last truly warm days for a while. Phoenix hits 100 degrees on Wednesday, 100 degrees in March. Thursday, it gets even hotter. Friday, hotter still. The 90-degree heat bleeds eastward into Texas. Houston is already at 78 today, Austin 84, San Antonio 83, Dallas 78, Fort Worth 75. By late week, the 90s will push across the Gulf Coast states. Let me run through Texas right now because the numbers are impressive. Laredo 90 degrees. McAllen 87, Brownsville 80, Corpus Christi 78, El Paso 83, Midland 73, Lubbock 68, Amarillo 63, Abilene 72, Waco 79, Temple 83, Killeen 81, Tyler 80, Longview 78. And these numbers are going up through the rest of the week. Now here is where the pattern change hits. Pay close attention to this timeline. Saturday, March 27th. This is the pivot day. This is when the jet stream starts to really flex. The ridge in the west strengthens further. The trough in the east begins to deepen, and by Saturday afternoon and evening, you are going to start to feel the first hints of that cold air surging back into the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Look at the temperature contrast on Saturday. Phoenix back over 100. The 90s push into the southeast. Raleigh is looking at 83 degrees. Atlanta, 83. Those are summer numbers. But at the exact same time, Detroit drops to 41. Pittsburgh, 49. Milwaukee drops into the low 30s. International Falls, Minnesota, 28 degrees. And then it accelerates. Sunday, March 29th. This is the day the cold really starts to pour in. I am calling this the pre-Easter chill. It is not the main event yet, but it is the opening act. The cold air surges through the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley and starts to knock on the door of the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. Here is the critical part of this forecast. The warm air does not leave the west. It stays parked there. That ridge is locked. So while the east is getting hammered with cold, the west continues to bake. This creates an incredible temperature gradient right through the middle of the country, and that gradient is going to be the breeding ground for severe weather. We are watching this very closely for the potential of strong thunderstorms along that boundary zone. Now let me take you through Easter week because this is where it gets really interesting. Monday, March 31st, the last day of March, the jet stream takes another big dip. A fresh trough pushes through, bringing cooler air even into parts of the west temporarily. But then, and this is the key, that trough slides east. And by the time we get to Easter Sunday, April 5th, or into Easter Monday, April 6th, that cold is sitting right over the eastern half of the country. So for those of you planning Easter activities outdoors, here is what you need to know. If you are in the western half of the country, particularly the southwest, you are looking at continued well above normal temperatures. Warm to hot conditions for any Easter gatherings. If you are in the eastern half, especially the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the Ohio Valley, and the northern Mid-Atlantic, you need to be prepared for temperatures that feel more like early March than early April. We are talking highs potentially in the 30s and 40s for some northern cities. This is not a mild cool down. This is a full-on return of winter air. And here is the part that really makes this complicated. There may be a brief warm-up in the middle of Easter week between the first surge of cold and the second. So you get cold, then a tease of warmth, then cold again. It is a roller coaster. And that roller coaster pattern is exactly what the jet stream is doing right now, buckling and waving back and forth, sending alternating shots of warm and cold air across the country. Now, I promised you forecasts for over 270 cities, and I am a person of my word. Let us go region by region so nobody gets left out, starting with the southeast. Right now, this region is enjoying some of the nicest weather in the country. Atlanta, 63 degrees and clear, but earlier models showed Atlanta pushing to 83 by Saturday, Savannah, 82, Augusta, 80, Jacksonville, Florida, 83, Jacksonville Beach, 82, Columbia, South Carolina, 81. Florence, 80. Charleston, 75. Charlotte, 65. Raleigh, 62. Durham, 62. Greensboro, 56. Greenville, South Carolina, 64. Greenville, North Carolina, 66. Fayetteville, 72. Wilmington, 74. Myrtle Beach, 67. North Myrtle Beach, 64. Into Alabama and Mississippi. Birmingham, 61. Huntsville, 58. Montgomery, 73, Mobile, 76, Tuscaloosa, 67, Dothan, 80, Gulfport, 77, Biloxi, 74, Hattiesburg, 75, Jackson, Mississippi, 76, Tupelo, 61, Memphis, Tennessee, 59, Tennessee and Kentucky, Nashville, 58, Knoxville, 56, Chattanooga, 61, Murfreesboro, 57, Clarksville, 51, Bowling Green, 56, Louisville, 49, Lexington, 46, Frankfort, 46, Hopkinsville, 52, Cookeville, 51, Florida. This is the one state in the east that stays comfortably warm through this entire pattern. Miami, 74, Fort Lauderdale, 75, West Palm Beach, 75, Boca Raton, 75, Hollywood, 75, Pembroke Pines, 77, Hialeah, 74, Tampa, 71, St. Petersburg, 72, Clearwater, 70, Orlando, 78, Kissimmee, 76, Daytona Beach, 76, Jacksonville, 83, Tallahassee, 78, Pensacola, 75, Fort Myers, 71, Cape Coral, 71, Sarasota, 70, Bradenton, 70, Naples, 69, Key West, 74, Cocoa Beach, 72, Melbourne, 73, Port St. Lucie, 75, Vero Beach, 73, Gainesville, 72, Ocala, 70. If you are in Florida, you are sitting pretty through this whole stretch. The cold air that is going to hit the rest of the east does not make it all the way down to the peninsula. You may see some slightly cooler days, but nothing like what the Northeast and the Great Lakes are going to experience. Now let us swing up to the Mid-Atlantic. Washington, D.C., 48 right now. By Saturday, the warmth pushes in, and you could see the 60s or 70s. But then the bottom drops out again by early Easter week. Alexandria, Virginia, 48. Arlington, Virginia, not listed but very similar to D.C. Reston, 47. Fairfax, 47. Baltimore, 45. Annapolis, 47. Richmond, 51. Virginia Beach, 48. Norfolk, 53. Charlottesville, 50. Roanoke, 47. Harrisonburg, 44. Fredericksburg, 49. Moving north, Philadelphia, 41. Allentown, 36. Reading, 39. Harrisburg, 42. State College, 37 with snow. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 37. York, 41. Scranton, 33. Wilkes-Barre, 33. Pittsburgh, 33. New Jersey. Newark, 38. Jersey City, 38. Trenton, 36. Edison, 38. Lakewood Township, 38. Atlantic City, 41. New York State, New York City, 37. Brooklyn, 37. Queens, 38. Yonkers, 37. Buffalo, 32 with snow. Rochester, 33 with snow. Syracuse, 33. Albany, 31 with snow. Binghamton, 28. Ithaca, 30. Utica, 33. Poughkeepsie, 36. New England, Boston, 34. Cambridge, 34. Worcester, 31. Springfield, Massachusetts, 37. Providence, 36. Hartford, 39. New Haven, 39. Bridgeport, 39. Stamford, 35. Concord, New Hampshire, 35 with snow. Manchester, New Hampshire, 34 with snow. Portland, Maine, 31. Bangor, 28 with snow. Augusta, Maine, 28. Burlington, Vermont, 30. Montpelier, 26. Rutland, 28. This entire region is in the grip of cold air right now, and the models show another round of equal or even colder air arriving for Easter weekend. If you are in New England, the Great Lakes, or upstate New York, do not put your winter coat away yet. Easter egg hunts may need to be moved indoors this year. Do not go anywhere because we still have the entire Midwest, the Plains, the Mountain West, and a critical update on what this pattern means for severe weather potential. Stay with me. Let us cover the Midwest now. This is the region that is going to feel the whiplash the most. You are going to go from cool but not terrible to warm and then right back to cold, all within about a 7-day window. Chicago, 35 degrees right now. Aurora, Illinois, 38. Rockford, 41. Peoria, 44. Springfield, Illinois, 44. Champaign, 44. Bloomington, 43. Decatur, 43. DeKalb, 39. That is cold for late March in Illinois. Indiana, Indianapolis, 46. Fort Wayne, 34. South Bend, 31. Elkhart, 33. Terre Haute, 45. Evansville, 47. Bloomington, Indiana, 43. Muncie, 37. Kokomo, 36. Ohio. Columbus, 38. Cleveland, 31 with snow. Cincinnati, 45. Dayton, 39. Akron, 32. Toledo, 34. Youngstown, 29. Canton, 31 with snow. Mansfield, 31. Lima, 34. Michigan. Detroit, 35. Grand Rapids, 35. Lansing, 32. Ann Arbor, 33. Kalamazoo, 33. Saginaw, 32. Flint, 33. Traverse City, 31. Marquette, 30. Escanaba, 32. Iron Mountain, 36. Wisconsin. Milwaukee, 32. Madison, 41. Green Bay, 37. Appleton, 37. Oshkosh, 35. Sheboygan, 33. Wausau, 35. Eau Claire, 42. La Crosse, 45. Janesville, 41. Kenosha, 34. Minnesota. Minneapolis, 45. St. Paul, 44. Rochester, 43. Duluth, 43. Mankato, 44. Bemidji, 38. International Falls, 32. Moorhead, 40. Faribault, 43. Red Wing, 43. Iowa. Des Moines, 49. Cedar Rapids, 43. Iowa City, 47. Davenport, 42. Waterloo, 46. Sioux City, 52. Ames, 47. Dubuque, 42. Mason City, 45. Grinnell, 48. Missouri. St. Louis, 49. Kansas City, 50. Springfield, 55. Columbia, 50. Jefferson City, 52. Branson, 59. Joplin, 56. Sedalia, 49. Poplar Bluff, 53. Hannibal, 50. Cuba, 50. Washington, Missouri, 50. Maryville, 50. Fort Leonard Wood, 53. St. Joseph, 48. And if you think those numbers are unremarkable, just wait, because by midweek, many of these Missouri cities will be 15 to 20 degrees warmer. Springfield could touch the low 70s. St. Louis, the mid-60s. Kansas City could see the 60s. That warm-up is going to feel amazing after weeks of below normal temps. But again, I cannot stress this enough. That warmth is borrowed time. The cold is coming back for Easter, and when it does, the drop is going to feel even more dramatic because your body has already adjusted to the warmth. This is actually something that weather researchers call thermal shock. When your body adjusts to warm temperatures over several days and then suddenly gets hit with a 30 or 40 degree drop, it feels much worse than if you had been in cool temperatures all along. Your blood vessels have dilated, your metabolism has shifted, and when the cold hits, your body has to scramble to readjust. For older Americans, for those with heart conditions, for those with respiratory issues, this kind of rapid temperature swing can actually be a health concern. So please take it seriously. Dress in layers during the transition days. Keep a warm jacket in your car, even if it feels like spring outside. The weather can change faster than your body can keep up. Let me also give you a quick travel advisory section because I know many of you are planning Easter weekend trips. If you are driving through the Pacific Northwest over the next few days, the mountain passes will be hazardous. Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass, and the passes through the Oregon Cascades could see significant snow accumulation. Carry chains. Check road conditions before you leave. Give yourself extra time. If you are flying in or out of airports in the Northeast this week, you could see some delays. The snow that is falling across upstate New York and New England today could affect operations at smaller regional airports. The major hubs like JFK, Newark, Logan, and Philadelphia should be fine for now, but watch the forecasts as we get closer to Easter weekend because the second round of cold could bring additional precipitation. If you are driving through the Great Lakes states this weekend and into Easter week, be prepared for changing road conditions. The freeze-thaw cycle that comes with these temperature swings creates potholes and slick spots. Early morning travel when temperatures dip below freezing could mean black ice on bridges and overpasses. For my friends in the Central Plains who are in the severe weather risk zone from about March 28th through April 7th, make sure your vehicle emergency kit is stocked. Flashlight, water, blankets, a phone charger. If severe storms develop, you do not want to be caught on the road unprepared. And for anyone in the Southwest dealing with the extreme heat, the standard heat safety rules apply even though it is March. Stay hydrated. Avoid strenuous outdoor activity during the peak heat hours from about 11 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Check on elderly neighbors. Never leave children or pets in a parked car. These temperatures are dangerous, period, no matter what month the calendar says. Now let us move into the plains. This is the battleground. This is where warm and cold air clash, and this is where severe weather could develop as we move through the next week to 10 days. Kansas, Wichita 56, Topeka 49, Kansas City, Kansas 50, Lawrence 50, Manhattan 53, Salina 56, Dodge City 55, Hayes 54, Hutchinson 55, Garden City 57, Emporia 51, Nebraska, Omaha 47, Lincoln 49, Grand Island 52, North Platte 58, Kearney 51, Scottsbluff 69, the Dakotas, Fargo 40, Grand Forks 42, Bismarck 60, Minot 42, Rapid City 63, Pierre 62, Sioux Falls 48, Aberdeen 47, Brookings 45. Oklahoma City 65, Tulsa 63. Norman is similar to Oklahoma City. Stillwater 61, Enid 61, Lawton area near Duncan at 70, Shawnee 50, McAllister 65. Now stop for a moment. Look at those numbers across the plains. You have got Scottsbluff, Nebraska at 69, Bismarck, North Dakota at 60. Those are well above normal, but the cold is coming. By Saturday, and especially into Easter week, those numbers are going to crash. We could see temperature drops of 30 degrees or more in some of these cities within 48 hours. That is the kind of swing that makes your body think it has gone through 2 seasons in 2 days. All right, let us cover the Mountain West and the states that are sitting under that big ridge of high pressure. Colorado, Denver, 67, Boulder, 68, Fort Collins, 68, Colorado Springs, 60, Pueblo, 69, Grand Junction, 74, Durango, 71, Aspen, 51, Breckenridge, 44, Montrose, 73. That is warm air all across Colorado, especially on the western slope. Utah, Salt Lake City, 70, Provo, 70, Ogden 68, St. George 89, Moab 80, Hurricane 89, Kanab 81. Park City area similar to Salt Lake. Southern Utah is absolutely roasting, Wyoming. Casper 66, Cheyenne 66, Jackson 56, Riverton 64, Rock Springs 62, Thermopolis 68, Montana, Helena 60, Billings 57, Missoula 59, Great Falls 54, Bozeman 58, Kalispell 54, Butte 56, Idaho, Boise 66, Idaho Falls 61, Pocatello 66, Twin Falls area near Gooding at 66, Nampa 64, Lewiston 55, Nevada, Las Vegas 91, North Las Vegas 94, Henderson area near Paradise at 95, Reno 75, Carson City 75, Elko 72, Laughlin 99, Pahrump 89, New Mexico, Albuquerque 78, Santa Fe 71, Las Cruces 81, Roswell 69, Farmington 77, Socorro 82, Hobbs 72, Clovis 67, Alamogordo 82, Ruidoso 72. These are incredible numbers for late March across the Mountain West. And as I mentioned, the ridge that is driving this heat is not going away. If anything, it is going to strengthen. Which brings me to something a lot of you have been asking about, especially those of you in the Southwest, the monsoon season. Several of you have been asking in the comments, is the monsoon going to start early this year? And the answer is, this pattern we are seeing right now is exactly the kind of setup that could trigger an early monsoon. Here is how it works. When you get a persistent area of high pressure locked over the Southwest at the upper levels of the atmosphere, it does two things. First, it bakes the surface. We are seeing that right now with the extreme heat. Second, over time, that intense surface heating creates an area of low pressure at ground level. Eventually, when that low pressure at the surface gets strong enough, it pulls moisture in from the Gulf of California and the Gulf of Mexico. That moisture reversal is the monsoon. If this high-pressure ridge stays in place, and the models suggest it will, we could see the monsoon season kick off earlier than the typical mid to late June start. That would bring much-needed rain to Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of southern Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. But it would also bring the risk of flash flooding, dust storms, and severe thunderstorms. We are going to be tracking this very closely in upcoming videos. Now let me give you the Deep South and the Gulf Coast because this region is in for an interesting week as well. Louisiana. New Orleans 73, Baton Rouge 77, Lafayette 79, Shreveport 75, Lake Charles 75, Alexandria 78. Monroe area is similar, Arkansas, Little Rock 60, Fort Smith 71, Fayetteville 61, Bentonville 58. Hot Springs area near Harrison at 67, Batesville 57, Georgia, Atlanta 63, Savannah 82, Augusta 80, Columbus 78, Macon 78, Athens 84, Valdosta 78, Gainesville, Georgia 66, South Carolina, Charleston 75, Columbia 81, Greenville 64, Spartanburg 66, Florence 80, Myrtle Beach 67, North Carolina, Raleigh 62, Charlotte 65, Durham 62, Greensboro 56, Asheville 55, Wilmington 74, Fayetteville 72, Hickory 58, Winston-Salem 55. The warmth that is building across the southeast midweek is going to feel incredible after the cooler start to the week. But remember what I told you earlier. This is the fake spring. This is the tease. The jet stream has other plans for Easter weekend, and that cold air is coming back. If you are in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, enjoy the warmth Wednesday through Friday, but do not get too attached to it. Now let us talk about something that a lot of people forget when we discuss these big pattern changes. It is not just about temperature. When you get a jet stream this active, this wavy, you create the conditions for severe weather. And I want to make sure everyone is prepared. Along that boundary where the warm air from the south collides with the cold air pushing down from the north, that is where thunderstorms thrive. That clashing of air masses creates instability. It creates wind shear. And in late March and early April, those are the ingredients for severe thunderstorm development. We are watching the period from about March 28th through April 5th very closely for the potential of severe storms across the central United States. The primary risk areas would be from Texas northward into Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and the lower Mississippi Valley. If you live in Tornado Alley or the Dixie Alley regions, this is the time to make sure your severe weather plan is in place. Know where your safe room is. Have your weather radio charged. Make sure your family knows the plan. I am not saying this to scare anyone. I am saying this because preparation saves lives, and I would rather you be ready and not need it than need it and not be ready. We will have more specific severe weather coverage as the models come into better focus on exact timing and placement. All right, here is where things get really specific. Let us lay out the exact timeline for the major weather events over the next 2 weeks. Tuesday, March 24th through Thursday, March 26th. Pacific Northwest storm brings heavy rain to lowland Washington and Oregon. Mountain snow totals of 20 to 30 inches in the highest Cascades. Light snow continues across the northern Great Lakes and southern Canada. Marquette gets 1 to 2 inches. Sault Ste. Marie 1 to 2 inches. Thunder Bay, Canada 8 to 12 inches. Warmth continues to build across the south and west. Friday, March 27th through Sunday, March 29th. This is the pivot window. The jet stream ridge amplifies in the west. The trough deepens in the east. The first round of pre-Easter cold air pushes into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Temperatures in the northeast start to fall. Meanwhile, Phoenix stays at or above 100 degrees. The 90s push into the Gulf Coast and southeast. The temperature contrast across the country reaches its maximum. Monday, March 31st. The last day of March brings another significant dip in the jet stream. A temporary cool down even for parts of the west, but the warmth quickly rebuilds there. The cold continues to push east and deepen. Tuesday, April 1st through Thursday, April 3rd. A brief warm-up may sneak into the east in the middle of Easter week. This is the teaser. Do not be fooled by it. The models show another round of cold air loading up behind it. Friday, April 4th through Monday, April 7th. Easter weekend through Easter Monday. The second and potentially stronger surge of cold air arrives in the eastern half of the country. This could bring temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below normal in some areas. The west remains warm to hot under the persistent ridge, and there you have it. That is the 2-week outlook broken down day by day, pattern by pattern, region by region. Now here is what I need from you. If this information helped you, if you now feel more prepared for what is coming, leave a comment below with your city and state. I read every single comment, and I use them to make sure I am covering the areas that matter most to you. Tell me what the weather is doing right where you are right now. Are you in the heat? Are you in the cold? Are you somewhere in between? Let me know. Let me also circle back and hit a few more cities I have not covered yet because I know some of you are still waiting. The Pacific Northwest in detail. Seattle 50, Tacoma 48, Olympia 49, Bellingham 47, Everett 46, Redmond, Washington 50, Spokane 56, Yakima 56, Wenatchee 53, Pullman 52, Walla Walla 55, Vancouver, Washington 53, Oregon, Portland 53, Salem 57, Eugene 60, Bend 64, Medford 68, Corvallis 60, Astoria 51, Coos Bay 52, Roseburg 63, Hillsborough 53, Pendleton 56, Hermiston 58. Now moving across to some cities I know people have been asking about. West Virginia, Charleston 42, Huntington 46, Morgantown 36, Clarksburg 36, Wheeling 31, Virginia beyond what I already covered, Roanoke 47, Lynchburg 54, Danville 52, Bristol 46, Kingsport, Tennessee nearby at 49, Staunton 44, Winchester area near Leesburg at 45, Maryland beyond Baltimore and D.C., Frederick 45, Hagerstown 43, Annapolis 47, Waldorf 46, Bethesda 54, Gaithersburg 47, Germantown 45, Connecticut, Hartford 39, New Haven 39, Bridgeport 39, Stamford 35, Danbury 38, Waterbury 35, Manchester 39, Massachusetts, Boston 34, Worcester 31, Springfield 37, Cambridge 34, Brockton 35, New Bedford 35, Plymouth 33 with light snow, Barnstable 35, Provincetown 35, Salem 33, Lawrence 33, Lowell 33, Rhode Island, Providence 36, Newport 36, Warwick 36, New Hampshire, Concord 35, Manchester 34, Nashua 34, Portsmouth 34, Vermont, Burlington 30, Montpelier 26, Rutland 28, Brattleboro 33 with snow, Maine, Portland 31, Bangor 28 with snow, Augusta 28, Lewiston 30, Presque Isle 29. Those are brutally cold numbers for this time of year across all of New England. And again, the Easter outlook does not bring much relief. Alaska. I know many of you watch from the last frontier. Anchorage 29, Fairbanks 16, Juneau 29 with snow, Kodiak 34, Kenai 28, Bethel 11, Nome 18, Point Hope 7 with snow, Utqiagvik 4 degrees, Prudhoe Bay 0, Kaktovik -9. Those are the extremes of American weather right there. Hawaii, Honolulu 81, Kailua Kona 81, Hilo 70 with thunderstorms, Lihue 77 with light rain. Now before I let you go, let me make sure I have given you the most important takeaways from this entire forecast. Number 1. The jet stream pattern that is currently in place is going to intensify, not weaken, over the next 2 weeks. The ridge in the west gets stronger, the trough in the east gets deeper. This drives everything else. Number 2, the warm-up that some of you in the east are going to feel midweek is temporary. It is the fake spring. The real story is the Easter chill that is coming behind it. Plan accordingly. Number 3, the Pacific Northwest gets hit with a significant storm system today through Thursday. Heavy rain in the lowlands, 2 to 4 inches. Mountain snow of 20 to 30 inches in the Cascades. Travel through the passes will be hazardous. Number 4, the southwest heat is not going anywhere. Phoenix and the surrounding area will continue to flirt with or exceed 100 degrees. This persistent heat could trigger an early monsoon season, which we will be watching closely. Number 5. Severe weather potential increases as the warm and cold air masses clash, particularly from late March through the first week of April across the central states. Have your severe weather plan ready. Number 6, Easter weekend, April 5th and 6th, is looking cold for the eastern half of the country. If you have outdoor plans, have a backup, especially in the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the Ohio Valley. Now, I want to leave you with this. In our next video, we are going to drill down even further into the Easter weekend forecast as the models get closer and the picture sharpens. We are also going to look at a developing signal that could mean a significant severe weather outbreak during the first week of April. The jet stream pattern we are tracking right now is not just a temperature story, it is a storm story. And what the models are hinting at for early April could be one of the most active stretches of severe weather we have seen this season. You are not going to want to miss that update. If you are not already watching regularly, now is the time to start. Drop your city in the comments so I know where you are watching from, and I will make sure your area gets covered in the next forecast. That is your full 2-week weather outlook. Over 270 cities covered, day-by-day breakdowns, exact timing on storm systems, and a look ahead to what could be a pivotal stretch of weather for millions of Americans. But wait. Before you go, I have got a few more regions to cover, and some of these numbers are going to surprise you. Let me go back and hit the Deep South one more time because there are several cities I skipped over, and some of you are still waiting. Mississippi in full. Jackson, 76. Gulfport, 77. Biloxi, 74. Hattiesburg, 75. Tupelo, 61. Batesville, 63. Macomb, 76. Vicksburg, 70. Pascagoula, 73, Bay St. Louis, 77, Gautier, 73, Olive Branch, 59, Oxford, 63, Alabama in full, Birmingham, 61, Montgomery, 73, Huntsville, 58, Mobile, 76, Tuscaloosa, 67, Dothan, 80, Auburn, 73, Talladega, 64, Bruton, 82, Tuskegee, 73, Phoenix City, 78, Florence, 61, Daphne, 76, Demopolis, 44. Now notice something interesting about Demopolis, Alabama, 44 degrees. That is cold compared to the rest of the state. These little pockets of cooler air are the fingerprints of the jet stream trough reaching southward. Keep an eye on that because as the trough deepens this week, those cool pockets are going to expand and swallow up much more of the south. Georgia deep dive, Atlanta 63, Savannah 82, Augusta 80, Columbus 78, Macon 78, Athens 84, and there it is, Athens at 84. That is the warmest reading in the state right now. Valdosta, 78, Gainesville, 66, Brazelton, 68, Cumming, 66, Dalton, 61, LaGrange, 72, Lawrenceville, 68, Toccoa, 72, Fayetteville, Georgia, 67, Perry, 79, Waycross, 81, Spring Hill, 68, Ringgold, 61. Look at that spread within just one state. Athens is at 84, while Dalton, up in the North Georgia mountains, is at 61. That is a 23-degree difference within the same state. That tells you how sharp this thermal gradient is. Let me also give you a complete rundown of the Carolinas because this is a region that is going to see some of the most dramatic swings in the coming days. North Carolina expanded. Raleigh, 62, Charlotte, 65, Durham, 62, Greensboro, 56, Asheville, 55, Wilmington, 74, Fayetteville, 72, Hickory, 58, Winston-Salem, 55, Boone, 45, Black Mountain, 55, Brevard, 55, Waynesville, 55, Statesville, 58, Lexington, North Carolina, 57, Asheboro, 58, Mount Airy, 54, Roanoke Rapids, 59, Jacksonville, North Carolina, 72, Kitty Hawk, 49, Manteo, 50, King, 55, Dunn, 69, South Carolina expanded, Charleston, 75, Columbia, 81, Greenville, 64, Spartanburg, 66, Florence, 80, Myrtle Beach, 67, North Myrtle Beach, 64, Somerville, 75, Anderson, 72, Clemson, 72, Kingstree, 75, notice the Outer Banks, Kitty Hawk at 49, Manteo at 50. Those are chilly readings for coastal North Carolina, and that is the cold air hanging on from the current pattern. But by midweek, those numbers are going to jump 20 degrees or more. Then by Easter weekend, they crash right back down again. That is the whiplash I have been warning you about. Now let me get granular on a few more states that have not gotten enough love yet. Nebraska expanded. Omaha, 47, Lincoln, 49, Grand Island, 52, North Platte, 58, Kearney, 51, Scottsbluff, 69, Fairbury, 52. The jump from Kearney at 51 to Scottsbluff at 69 shows you exactly where that warm air boundary is sitting right now. The western panhandle of Nebraska is firmly under the warm ridge influence. Eastern Nebraska is still feeling the cooler pattern. That dividing line is going to shift dramatically over the next few days. Kansas expanded. Wichita, 56, Topeka, 49, Kansas City, Kansas, 50, Lawrence, 50, Manhattan, 53. Salina, 56, Dodge City, 55, Hayes, 54, Hutchinson, 55, Garden City, 57, Emporia, 51, Junction City, 54, Pittsburgh, Kansas, 56, Osage City, 49, Goodland, 57, Oklahoma expanded, Oklahoma City, 65, Tulsa, 63, Stillwater, 61, Enid, 61, Duncan, 70, Shawnee, 50, McAllister, 65, Altus, 70, Guthrie, 65, Atoka, 73, Hugo, 45. Look at Hugo, Oklahoma at 45 compared to Atoka at 73. Those two cities are not that far apart, but the temperature difference is 28 degrees. The atmosphere is doing wild things right now, and these local variations are a reminder that your specific microclimate matters. That is exactly why I need you to drop your city in the comments. No matter how many cities I cover, your specific location might have a micro pattern that changes everything. Let me also cover the full spread across Texas because it is such a massive state and the temperature variations are enormous. Texas complete rundown. Dallas 78, Fort Worth 75, Houston 78, San Antonio 83, Austin 84, El Paso 83, Laredo 90, McAllen 87, Brownsville 80, Corpus Christi 78, Midland 73, Lubbock 68, Amarillo 63, Abilene 72, Waco 79, Temple 83, Killeen 81, Tyler 80, Longview 78, Sherman 73, Denison 73, McKinney 77, Plano 77, Allen 77, Garland 79, Mesquite 79, Irving 78, Arlington 76, Grand Prairie 77, Carrollton 78, Louisville 77, Denton 73, Burleson 75, Cleburne 74, Waxahachie 76, Corsicana 80, Granbury 74, Palestine 81, Nacogdoches 78, Kilgore 78, Gladewater 75, Hawkins 75, Greenville, Texas 77, Commerce 77, Mineola 79, Texarkana 72, Beaumont 74, Orange, Texas 74, Victoria 79, San Angelo 78, Uvalde 85, Kyle, 84, San Marcos, 84, Rosenberg, 79, Tomball, 81, Conroe, 81, Bryan College Station, 80, Wharton, 82, Livingston, 78, Lampasas, 81, Junction, 97, Junction, Texas, 97 degrees. In the heart of the hill country, that is essentially summer heat in late March, and Brownsville at 80, Laredo at 90. The Rio Grande Valley and the hill country are absolutely baking. Now let me swing back to a few more states for those of you who are still waiting to hear your city. Connecticut complete, Hartford, 39, New Haven, 39, Bridgeport, 39, Stamford, 35, Danbury, 38, Waterbury, 35, Manchester, 39, Glastonbury, 39, Westport, 39, Delaware, Wilmington, 40, Dover, 43, Rehoboth Beach, 45. Let me also make sure the mountain communities in Colorado get covered because several of you have asked specifically about these areas. Colorado mountain towns, Aspen, 51, Breckenridge, 44, Telluride, 59, Durango, 71, Cannon City, 65, Montrose, 73, Grand Junction, 74. These mountain towns are seeing remarkably warm temperatures for late March. Normally, you would expect these areas to still have significant snowpack and temperatures in the 30s and 40s. Instead, many are running 15 to 25 degrees above normal. This is going to have implications for early snowmelt and stream flows heading into spring. Now, here is a thought that is going to make some of you nervous, and I want to address it head on. Some of you in the West are wondering, does this lack of winter mean a bad wildfire season? Here is the honest assessment. When you have above normal temperatures, below normal snowpack, and dry conditions persisting through late March, that absolutely raises the fire weather concern as we head into spring and summer. We are not making any predictions about fire season right now, but the conditions that lead to elevated fire risk are certainly present across much of the interior West. Stay tuned for updates on that front as well. Now let me circle back one final time to the Great Lakes region because this is the area where the Easter forecast is most critical. Here is what I want everyone in the Great Lakes to understand. The first pulse of cold air arrives by Saturday, March 29th. Temperatures drop into the 30s and 40s across Michigan, Wisconsin, northern Ohio, and western New York. Then there is a brief reprieve early in Easter week, maybe a day or two where temperatures bump back toward normal. But then the second stronger pulse arrives by Friday, April 4th through Easter Sunday, April 5th, and into Easter Monday, April 6th. This is the one that could bring temperatures into the upper 20s and 30s across much of the region. That is winter air. In early April, potential frost and freeze concerns for anyone who has already started their spring garden. If you are in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, northern Illinois, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, or western New York, here is my advice. Do not plant anything outdoors that is frost sensitive until you see this pattern break. Right now, the models do not show a sustained warm-up for the Great Lakes until potentially the second week of April. I know that is frustrating, but it is better to wait a few extra days than to lose everything to a late-season frost. Now let me also address something that several of you asked about. What about severe weather? When does severe season really ramp up? Here is the reality. We are entering the heart of severe weather season right now. March through June is the most active period for tornadoes and severe thunderstorms across the central and eastern United States. And this jet stream pattern, with its extreme ridging in the west and deep troughing in the east, creates the perfect setup for explosive severe weather development. When warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico gets pulled northward ahead of these advancing cold fronts, it creates massive instability. Add in the wind shear that comes from a jet stream moving at speeds of 100 to 150 miles per hour overhead, and you have all the ingredients for supercells and tornadoes. The primary time window we are watching is from about March 28th through April 7th. The primary area of concern stretches from central and eastern Texas northward through Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, into the lower Ohio Valley, and down through the Tennessee Valley and the lower Mississippi Valley. But let me be clear about something. I am not trying to alarm anyone. Severe weather is a normal part of spring in America. What we are doing here is making sure you are informed and prepared. Check your weather radio batteries. Review your severe weather safety plan. Know where your interior room or storm shelter is. Have a way to receive warnings even in the middle of the night. These basic steps are the difference between being caught off guard and being ready. And here is one more thing I want to point out about this pattern. For those of you in the Southwest who have been dealing with this extreme heat, I hear you. The comments from the last video were loud and clear. Many of you are ready for it to cool down. You want rain, you want relief. Here is the honest answer. Short term, over the next 1 to 2 weeks, the heat is going to persist. That ridge is locked in. Phoenix is going to continue to flirt with triple-digit temperatures. Tucson, the same. The entire desert Southwest is in for more of the same. But there is a silver lining. As I mentioned earlier, this extreme heating pattern is exactly what can trigger an early monsoon. And when the monsoon kicks in, it brings moisture, cloud cover, and temperatures that drop 10 to 15 degrees from peak values. We are not there yet, but the building blocks are being put into place right now. If you are in Arizona, New Mexico, or southern Nevada, keep watching. The transition could come sooner than you think. Now let me make one more important point about what is happening in the northern plains and upper Midwest. The cities up here are in a unique position because they sit right on the boundary between the warm ridge and the cold trough. That means day-to-day variability is going to be extreme. Let me show you what I mean. Fargo, North Dakota, 40 degrees right now. By midweek, Fargo could see temperatures in the 50s or even low 60s as the warm air briefly pushes north. But by Easter weekend, Fargo could be back in the 20s. That is a potential 40-degree swing in less than a week. Same story for Sioux Falls, currently at 48, Grand Forks 42, Bismarck 60, Minot 42, Aberdeen 47. The same volatility applies to the upper Midwest cities. Minneapolis 45 right now, could reach the 60s midweek, then back to the 30s for Easter. That is a 30-degree round trip in about 7 days. For anyone making travel plans, for anyone planning outdoor events, for anyone with agricultural interests, this kind of volatility demands attention. Duluth is at 43, Mason City, Iowa 45, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 42, Wausau 35, Bemidji 38. These cities are going to feel like they are on a weather seesaw for the next 2 weeks. All right, let me also cover a few more cities I know people are going to ask about. The I-95 corridor from south to north. Miami 74, Fort Lauderdale 75, West Palm Beach 75, Vero Beach 73, Daytona Beach 76, Jacksonville 83, Savannah 82, Charleston 75, Florence 80, Fayetteville 72, Raleigh 62, Richmond 51, Washington, D.C. 48, Baltimore 45, Wilmington, Delaware 40, Philadelphia 41, Trenton 36, New York City 37, New Haven 39, Providence 36, Boston 34, Portland, Maine 31, Bangor 28. That is the entire eastern seaboard from south to north. And look at that gradient. You go from 83 in Jacksonville to 28 in Bangor. That is a 55-degree temperature drop over the span of about 1,500 miles. That is an average of about 3.5 degrees cooler for every 100 miles you drive north. That is an extraordinary gradient, and it tells you everything you need to know about how dramatically the atmosphere is split right now. Let me also quickly cover the Four Corners states for those of you in that region who have been waiting. New Mexico, Albuquerque 78, Santa Fe 71, Las Cruces 81, Roswell 69, Farmington 77, Shiprock 77, Tularosa 82, Hobbs 72, Clovis 67, Socorro 82, and on the Navajo Nation and Hopi lands, Window Rock 74, Chinle 74, Tuba City 75, Shiprock 77, Kaikotsmovi Village 83, Moenkopi 81, Jadito 81. These are remarkably warm readings for high desert country in late March. For those of you out west in the smaller mountain and ranching communities, here is a quick hit. Elko, Nevada 72, West Wendover 73, Riverton, Wyoming 64, Thermopolis 68, Rock Springs 62, Wamsutter 61, West Yellowstone, Montana 46, Polson 54, Eureka, Montana 54, Sandpoint, Idaho 50. All right, now let me give you the absolute final summary and make sure we have covered everyone. Total cities covered in this forecast. Over 270 locations across all 50 states. From Kaktovik, Alaska at -9 degrees to Goodyear, Arizona at 99 degrees. From Key West, Florida at 74 to Montpelier, Vermont at 26. This country is experiencing an extraordinary range of weather right now, and the next 2 weeks are only going to amplify those extremes. Here are your action items based on where you live, if you are in the Pacific Northwest. Prepare for heavy rain and mountain snow today through Thursday. Avoid mountain travel if possible. Expect multiple rounds of storms continuing into the first week of April, if you are in the Southwest. Stay hydrated. Protect yourself from the extreme heat. Watch for signs of an early monsoon developing later in the spring. If you are in the Central Plains, enjoy the above normal temperatures while they last, but be ready for a roller coaster. Severe weather becomes a real concern as warm and cold air masses clash if you are in the Great Lakes and upper Midwest. The Easter chill is real. Do not put your winter gear away yet. Hold off on planting frost-sensitive gardens until the pattern breaks, if you are in the Southeast. Enjoy the warmth midweek, but plan for a cool down heading into Easter. Have a backup plan for outdoor Easter activities. If you are in the Northeast and New England, this cold pattern has been stubborn and it is going to remain stubborn. Easter weekend could feel more like early March. Plan indoor alternatives for any celebrations. If you are in Florida, you are fine. Enjoy it. One more time, drop your city and state in the comments below. Tell me what you are experiencing right now. I want to hear from every single one of you. Your reports help me verify what the models are showing, and they help your fellow viewers know what is heading their way. Whether you are sweating in Phoenix or shivering in Buffalo, your report matters. In the next video, we are going to zero in on the Easter weekend forecast with much sharper detail as the models converge. We are also going to look at a developing signal that could mean a significant severe weather outbreak during the first week of April. The jet stream pattern we are tracking right now is not just a temperature story, it is a storm story. And what the models are hinting at for early April could be one of the most impactful severe weather events of the spring season so far. The setup involves a deep jet stream trough, Gulf moisture surging northward, and an unstable atmosphere that has been charging up for weeks. When those ingredients come together, the results can be explosive. You are not going to want to miss that breakdown. Make sure you catch the next update so you are fully prepared for whatever the atmosphere throws at us. That is your full 2-week weather outlook. Over 270 cities covered, day-by-day breakdowns, exact timing on storm systems, the mechanism behind the pattern explained in plain English, and a look ahead to what could be a pivotal stretch of weather for millions of Americans. Now, before I actually let you go, let me give you a few more cities that I know people are going to message me about if I do not include them. South Dakota, Sioux Falls 48, Rapid City 63, Pierre 62, Aberdeen 47, Brookings 45, Yankton 50. Notice the split even within South Dakota. The western part of the state under ridge influence is running in the 60s, while the eastern part is in the mid to upper 40s. That warm and cold dividing line runs right through the heart of the northern plains. For those of you along the Gulf Coast who I have not mentioned yet, Pensacola 75, Fort Walton Beach 70, Destin 69, Panama City 70, Port St. Joe 69, Crestview 78, Bay St. Louis 77. Pass Christian is similar. Ocean Springs near Gautier at 73. These are comfortable temperatures right now, but the warmth is going to build midweek. By Thursday and Friday, some Gulf Coast locations could see the low to mid-80s with humidity starting to creep up. That combination of heat and moisture is going to feel noticeably different from the dry heat out west. And for those of you in the middle of the country who are sitting right on that boundary between warm and cold, this next week is going to feel genuinely bizarre. One day you might be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. The next day you might need a heavy coat. Cities like Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Louisville, Nashville, and Memphis are all sitting in that transition zone where the weather is going to flip back and forth like a light switch. Cincinnati is at 45 right now, Louisville 49, Nashville 58, Memphis 59, Indianapolis 46. These cities could see the 70s by Thursday, then crash back into the 40s or even 30s by Easter weekend. If you live in this zone, your best strategy is to check the forecast every single morning before you walk out the door because the day-to-day changes are going to be dramatic. Also, for the record hunters and weather history enthusiasts out there, here is something worth noting. Phoenix hitting 100 degrees in March is not unheard of, but it is early. The average date for the first 100-degree reading in Phoenix is typically late May or early June. When we see triple digits in late March, we are running about 2 full months ahead of schedule. That is significant, and it speaks to the strength of the upper-level ridge that has been parked over the southwest. We have been talking about this ridge for weeks now, and it shows no signs of weakening. Similarly, the cold in the northeast has been persistent and stubborn. Temperatures in the upper 20s and low 30s across New England in late March are not unprecedented, but they are below normal. Boston usually averages highs near 50 this time of year. Right now, it is sitting at 34. That is 16 degrees below normal. Buffalo averages around 46 for a high in late March. It is at 32, 14 degrees below normal. These are not catastrophic numbers, but they add up over time. When you are running 10 to 15 degrees below normal day after day, it starts to feel like winter simply refused to leave. And for those of you keeping score at home, that contrast between Phoenix at 97 and Buffalo at 32 is 65 degrees on the same day, in the same country. That is the kind of atmospheric extremism that makes meteorologists sit up and pay close attention, because when the atmosphere is this energetic, this out of balance, it is priming itself for dramatic events, severe thunderstorms, late-season snow events, potential record-breaking heat. All of these become more likely when the jet stream is as distorted as it is right now. So here's my final message to you. Stay informed, stay prepared. And most importantly, stay connected to your local forecasts, because in a pattern like this, things can change quickly. What looked like a calm week can turn volatile in a matter of hours when the jet stream is this active. Drop your city in the comments. Share this with someone in your area who needs to see these numbers. And I will see you in the next video where we drill into Easter weekend and that potentially significant severe weather outbreak that is taking shape.